So today's topic is theory of 3D. So far we have seen about that basic theories for 2D. We'll enter into the 2D meshing or geometry editing. Likewise, 3D also has its own theory sessions, and 3D meshing also. Okay, it's not too complicated. If you are well aware of 2D meshing, it is very easy. It's just an extrusion process of 2D meshes. Like if you have a quad element, what we're gonna do here is I just extrude this quad element like this. Okay, from here to it's a hex element, and if you are having a triangular element like this, and if I extrude this triangular element, I will get a prism element. It's a 3D element. Okay, and apart from that, we have a lot of varieties of meshing options. We will see the complete meshing option in 3D. So some of the options we missed it out in the 2D session, so that options will be covered in our other sessions. Okay, so let's see about 3D when we use 3D elements. So that is the first question, and you guys are well aware of this answer. So how to choose 1D analysis, 2D analysis and 3D analysis. Basically we have to compare the dimensions. So if all the dimensions are comparable with each other, so like x-axis, y-axis, z-axis dimension, we can directly go for 3D rather than go for 2D analysis or 1D analysis. Okay, so what is that advantages? The first thing is the result is maximum accuracy. It has its maximum accuracy, and but it takes some time, but we can believe that its accuracy is more than the 1D analysis or 2D analysis. Okay, what are the element shapes we can use over here? So primarily we use tetra elements. Around 70% of the mesh, 70% of the analysis we only use tetra meshes because it is very easy to create. Okay, what is the tetra means? So you have a triangular surface, and in the perpendicular direction you will have a node. When you try to connect this two ends or three points, so this is called tetra. Literally it has a 4 phases, so that is why it's tetra. Okay, and we use penta and hexa and pyramid structures, so or else prism. So these are all the basic configuration. So we don't actually use this penta and pyramid. We only use rarely, but most of the cases we use tetra and hexa element. So which is the highest quality of element? That is hex. Hex is the highest quality of element, but it is a super complicated process to create a hex mesh on an irregular surface. For a proper surface, so if you have a cube structure like this, you can easily create a hex mesh over there. Okay, or else if your geometry is a mappable, so I will tell you what is mappable in our upcoming sessions. And if you are having a mappable geometry, you will easily create a hex mesh. And while creating hex mesh, it will take two different methods. Either you do geometry editing, or else you can edit your mesh. Okay, so you have to split your model into multiple pieces of a proper sizes, and then you have to create a hex mesh. Otherwise it's better to go for a tetra mesh. Okay, I don't think you may aware or not, there is a course for hex meshing itself. It's a 30 hours of lecture. It's not in this CAD center, but try to search in the Udemy or some other sites. You will get a course like that. So in the market itself, for a hex mesh engineer, there is a lot of vacancies. If you know how to create a hex mesh, that is very good. So you will definitely get a job in meshing itself. But it's super complicated, so that is why there may be a lot of vacancies in that. Okay, and additional data from the user. So we don't need to give any additional data. Like in 2D we have to give the thickness as an additional data, and in 1D we have to give the cross section as an additional data. And what is this type? It's solid right now, and So type may be differ for if you are doing a CFD analysis, that may be a liquid or fluid, but the concept is everything is similar. What about that practical application? Gearbox, engine block, so which is comes under this example, like all the 3 dimensions are comparable, whatever the examples you can give, like engine block and crankshaft and some other also. Okay, so these are all comes under this particular categories like 3D analysis. Okay, so I will move on to the next slide, that is the element. What are the different categories of elements which is available over here? So we primarily use this tetra mesh, this configuration. Like I said before, this is a linear element, this is a quadratic element, or else you can, it is first order, it is second order, and this is which or a weight element. Normally we say that weight element, or else which you can say it as a prism. So this triangle is extruded in a normal direction, and if you have additional node, that is a second order element, and hex or brick element and pyramid element. So some softwares will support pyramid, so ANSYS will support pyramid, and Hypermesh also supports pyramid. Some software softwares will not support the prism element. Okay, not supported by all softwares. Okay, yep. So this is an example for how to interpret that 1D to 2D and 3D. Okay, so there is a set of rules to create meshing. Like we have seen that how to and how not to mesh that 2D, right? So like that 3D also has its how to and how not to mesh segment. Okay, MIDS node should be the first point. Actually it's not an recommended or prescribed to do. It's a practice. By practice we follow in our industries. So I make it as a 10 points what we have suggested to a newcomer while creating a meshing. Okay, right, the first point is mid node should lie exactly on the geometry. What is that mid nodes? So when you are trying to create a second order element, that is see, so if you are creating a second order triangular element or a what is that prism element, you will have a node over here, right? Here, that is additional nodes. I'm talking about that additional nodes in the filleted areas, like it has a fillet surface like this. That node, that mid node should be exactly lie on this surface, this point. Okay, so this is not recommended, this is recommended. Sometimes you may get this mesh, so you have to delete it and remesh it out, like by whatever the thing, you may give a phase sizing or else edge sizing, whatever it is, but it is recommended, it is not recommended. Okay, so that is our first point. And the next thing is, when the job is splitted among several engineers, the element length and overall mesh pattern should be consistent. Okay, you may face this issue if you are going for a mesh engineer job. Your company will works on a big model. You can't mesh all the whole component by yourself. They can literally split that model. Like, so you will notice that this model is splitted into a multiple pieces, from here to here and here to here, and also like this. This will meshed by someone, this is meshed by someone, and this is meshed by someone. What you're gonna do here is you need to follow a particular pattern. So if you are using a element size of 3 mm, all you guys are gonna use the same element size and same mesh pattern. So if you are using tetra, this fellow also use the tetra. So if you are using a hex mesh, this fellow also use the hex mesh. Right now this is not a recommended one. Why? Because if I try to connect this all the splitted parts into a single one, the nodes and elements cannot be matched out. because the sizing and the nodes counts, everything will be differ. Okay, so also the analysis also vary. So if you are using a fine mesh, you may get a different level of stresses over here. If you are using a coarse mesh, you may get a different level of results. Okay, there won't be not reliable answers. You need to follow a same pattern, so you can't do independently your work. So that is our second point. Make sure all the data you collected before you try to mesh that model. And minimum 2 elements on the filleted areas for a tetra meshing. So if you are doing a tetra meshing, so one thing has happened over here. This fellow created a tetra mesh, but the outer faces is initially meshed as a quad mesh, and then that quad is converted into a triangular one. How they actually convert that quad into a triangle? So I have a proper quad. So if I want to convert this quad into a triangle, that is possible. When I try to split this model like this, now we have a 2 triangular elements, but this is a special triangle, that is R triangle, right angled triangle. You can also make it as a tetra mesh. Like if you have a nodes over here, just connect the 3 points, you will get a tetra mesh. Okay, so when you are meshing the filleted areas like this, you always recommended to create 2 sets of elements, so then only you can accurately capture that feature. But sometimes if you are creating a 1 set of elements, you may get an error like this, like your element is over here, but there is a missing in this gap, right? So we have already seen this point in our 2D session also, so it is very important. So that is the third point. And the fourth point is, for brick meshing, a minimum of 2 elements across the thickness should be used. So while you're trying to create, or whenever this is a surface model, actually it's a surface model, but suppose if you want to do it as a 3D analysis, you can't mesh it as a single element segment. So always, if you have a plate like this, try to create 2 sets of elements over there. So if you closely notice that there is a 2 sets of elements, a minimum 2 sets of elements is recommended. So you can go furtherly, so 4 to 5, it's up to you, but a minimum is 2. Okay, so that is recommended. Okay, and the next thing is uses of tetras and pyramid elements while brick meshing. Again, it's not an important point, but sometimes it may help you. Always it is not possible to create 100% of quad element, right? So the 100% of not quad, for 2D it's quad, for 3D it is brick element, or you can say it as a hex element, right? So when somebody give you a project, so I need a hex mesh, you can ask them, so how much percentage I can use a tetra elements for a curved surfaces. If it is a regular geometry, you can easily create a brick mesh, but if it is a complicated structure, like it has a lot of curvatures like that, you can't use a hex mesh. Like I said before, in that I mean plate with hole problem, so when you try to give a all quad element, but software will fail to create all quad, it will create some triangles. So ideally, if you try to convert it as a 3D one, wherever the triangle is placed, it is replaced as a prism element in 3D. So if you are having a quad element, that is converted into a brick element. Okay, so you can ask, maximum you can use a 30% of it's up to the company or the project owners reliable. So sometimes some people want 80% of brick mesh, and remaining we can use a tetra or pyramid element. You can ask it for a brick mesher tolerably, so it's easy for you to create that. You can use the combination like tetra plus hex, tetra plus prism plus hex, that is possible. there won't be a much difference in that. You can't create a tetra itself separately and pyramid. You can use it as a combination. And the sixth thing is modeling a sheet metal part with a 3D element. It is not recommended. Why? Because you can notice that it is 3D and it is 2D. Why should I switch over to 3D from 2D? The accuracy wise there won't be a much difference. Only a 5 to 10% of accuracy is differ. Okay. But while you're comparing that for a simple plate in 3D analysis, it creates a 1496 nodes and elements of 689. Okay, so obviously it is high. But if you are meshing the same plate in 2D, quad element, that is first order, you will get a nodes of 121 and element of 100. Okay, so compare this factor. So you will get the only, so how many resources you need? So you need a less number of resources like computing, processing time, resources, whatever it is. Let's assume if it is a complicated structure, when you go for 3D analysis for a surface geometry, you may get a lakhs and lakhs of nodes. But if you are doing a 2D analysis, you can complete that model in the thousands of nodes. So that is the main difference. So you have to choose the right analysis path. And seventh part is limitations of 1D analysis, and then advantages of 3D meshing. So I actually said that in our 1D session. This is my 1D element. So if this is my line segment, if I try to mesh it, what happened here is it discretized my line into a multiple pieces like this. So this is first element, second element, third, fourth and fifth. This is nodes. Node number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we have 6 nodes and 5 elements. Okay. But if there is any changes in its cross section, like it's a what I will say, it's a rod element. If you are trying to apply axial load, you can assume that you can identify what is the deformation, but you can't expect what is that stress values in that cross section, because there will be a variation in the cross section. That cross section cannot be observed by the 1D mesh because you don't have any nodes or elements in the cross section, right? So that is a drawback. Like if it is a separate one, like step bar we have seen, we don't have any feature over here like fillets or chamfers. We don't have anything. We can model this as a separate entity and this as a separate entity. We can apply a different cross section for this element and we can apply a different cross section for this element. For example, this is for 60 mm and this is for 30 mm, whatever it is. But if you're having any fillets like this, you can't include it in the 1D analysis. That does not actually take places in 1D analysis. So that is the drawbacks or limitations of 1D analysis. Okay. So however, if you're doing any geometry or defeaturing options, but if your analysis is only take places over there, you can obviously go for 3D analysis. Okay. No more 1D is helpful for in this situation. It's depend upon your need. Okay, so that is the 7th point. Right, so we only have 7 points which is recommended for how to mesh and how not to mesh. And quality checks parameters. What are the quality checks parameters? We have seen that so many quality checking parameters in 2D analysis like tetra, Jacobian, aspect ratio, and then included angle, comparing its shapes. Like 3D also have its own quality checks. The most common check is tetra collapse. What does that mean, tetra collapse? The ideal value is 1. The acceptable is more than 0.1. The formula for tet collapse is height into 1.24 divided by the area. So which area? The triangular area. So if you're having a triangular surface, right? So the area of this triangle, and then height. So how distance, the height between this perpendicular node to this surface. So when the TET collapse is happened, so if you're having a very minimum number of height, so very low number of height, so obviously your value will be decreased. Okay, in that case you can manually edit the element also, but not in ANSYS. You can edit the element separately in Hypermesh itself. You can change the height literally, so by moving this nodes in a particular direction, like you can say it as a perpendicular direction, I want to move in this direction, or is in this direction, in this direction. So these options are only available in Hypermesh. So Hypermesh has a lot of options while editing meshing, so it is only for meshing. So you can't imagine, so we have a lot of options there. Okay, so while comparing to Hypermesh, ANSYS only having around 10 to 8% of meshing capability. Okay. Yes, that is called TET collapse. So this is for our practice 3D geometry editing, but hope you know about that 3D modeling techniques in Design Modeler itself. So most of the time, not most of the time, all the time we only import the model from another CAD source, but it is good to know about editing or small changes, how can I edit or how to create a sample models by using a Design Modeler. Okay. Yep, so that is all for this session. So we have seen about the basic 3D theory session for a 3D analysis. So far in our upcoming 2 sessions, we will see about what are the different methods to create a TET mesh and a hex mesh. After completing the meshing part, we can move on to the analysis part. Okay. So up to this, if you have any doubts, you can. Manoj, Sairam, Raj Balaji.
Doubtless, sir.
Okay, good. So this theory session is basic for Hypermesh and ANSYS.
Sir, will you share this PPT?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right.